In future history, they'll look back and call it one of the shocking crises of our era that we didn't know about. We actually studied early on the towns around Poland and Germany in the Second World War, where there was clearly bad things happening in these death camps, to see what the behaviors were. And we learned that the behavior was to protect your kids and hide from it and not see it. There was one time where they built shutters on this all throughout the town on one side, and it wasn't because the sun came down that side. It was because there was people being burned, and nobody wanted their kids to see it. And that's the behavior we have to push through, is that I don't want to see it behavior, because we're living in some atrocity here.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text optimize to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stevr1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everybody, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm going to talk something, it's not a great subject, but it's everywhere. I had a guest on about a year ago talking about this, and it really blew me away, the statistics and what's really happening. We're going to dive in and talk about how my guest is really trying to solve the problem. It's going to take years, but any steps we could take towards the answer of this problem would be great. Human trafficking is what we're going to talk about. A lot of people I talk to, it's in Africa, it's, all these different, now it's in America, and more than we think. So before we start, let's do our gratitude for the day. You're awesome. Your positivity is contagious. What a perfect card for today's show, because we need to be positive about this and find ways to solve this problem. With that being said, let's bring our guest on. Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What brought you to human trafficking in your nonprofit?
My wife started it. I did not even know anything about it. So my contribution was I wanted my children to leave the house. I thought, I'll ask my wife. I can't say, will the children leave when they hit 18, 19, or 20? One of them definitely didn't want to go. But I just asked her, who are we going to be when the kids are gone? And she was at a conference and came back and said, we're going to fight human trafficking. And that started the ball rolling. She did more dangerous work early on. She was doing undercover work in Houston and helping at-risk kids and all sorts of stuff. And then we started working with a recovery home, and then we'd have young ladies who came out of that live with us. So I got closer to the subject, and then one day, maybe 6 years in, I got asked to go on the board of a recovery home. And the day after, I started a new organization, because I could see that the nonprofit world was really hard for me with a business mind. So I wanted to do something a bit stronger and do a bit more than they were thinking was possible.
I love your thought, your passion for all this, and being able to do it, you do it. A lot of people talk, and I love to do that. I love it. You actually take action, which
we actually have a program called Action Speaks, which, louder than words. So we bring it into companies and educate. Usually if we gather 30 people from a company and we explain trafficking and then grooming, almost every time at least one person's kid is being groomed, if not trafficked. So That's a 1 in 30 in your average working person. We're seeing it everywhere more and more. We didn't start thinking that's what we do, but we are definitely in the protecting kids and families world.
How big of a problem is this really?
No one can really put their finger on it. There's a lot of estimates. A lot of people make stories as to why their city is a big trafficking city. What I've worked out over time is it's where people are. It's a supply and demand issue, and the demand is high for buying sex. And I think the majority of the buyers don't know what they're dealing with. They think this is a victimless crime that someone chooses, and what we're seeing is, of course, it's a grooming process that most people who are trafficked don't know they're trafficked until they get help, and then they know it's bad, and so they'll move away, and then we get to kind of help them with understanding what happened to them, and then they realize it's trafficking. But it's a journey, and it's a very psychological game. It's what we see from rescues is between 70-80% are American-born kids, which kind of kills the, I won't say myth, but the belief that it's all border. Border is a big part, but it's not everything. So, and yeah, it's large. The way we measure it, just to help people see it, we kind of do here's the world, give them the estimates of the world numbers, which is kind of 25 to 50 million people in the world traffic compared to 13 million when we considered the slave trade the worst thing in the world. So we're bigger than that. And then they estimate around a $500 billion business. You'll hear 200 billion, but it's recent estimates are getting up at 500 billion. So it's the bad people who were doing drugs and guns find a better product. And so human beings can be sold over and over, and that the economics for them, once they learned how to not just grab people or grab children or do a lot of grabbing, like we think it would be, isn't what happens. When they learn the grooming process using the techniques of cults, how to wear down a human being and get them to move away from their family, and look like they're just a runaway or a problem child or someone who's in with the wrong crowd. So yeah. Unidentifiable to the naked eye, and they don't see themselves as trafficked, which is a perfect model for them. So yeah, the numbers are high. We go down to a local brothel level where we can show, based on online user reviews, believe it or not, they exist for these places, and we can actually identify brothels in your neighborhood. When we used to estimate, those are usually massage parlor fronts. When we first came across it, we'd estimate around 200 in Houston. The city did not like it. They said that's very wrong because they're legitimate massage businesses. And we have 150 Starbucks, so they weren't too excited about that kind of number. When we actually did the work, it was around 675 brothels operating in our city. And that percentage generally is the same everywhere. Sometimes like New York gets higher, or with density, but pretty much you see that everywhere. You see everyone doesn't think it's in their city. Every time we go to a new city, we basically do the map of the brothels. For Houston, we did prostitution arrests, which was every hotel in town. So hotels are very much a part of it. And so then we just tell them what we're experiencing, which is kids that we know. So we've had 13 executive kids who've gone and had to be rescued. We've had 41 regular kids, just from people we talk to and educate. So we have a really good private investigator who helps us get after it fast, which is one of the problems. Most of the systems don't respond quickly when a kid is missing or there's a problem. So we've got a little system going that's working for us right now. I mean, as we grow, it could be more complicated, but the general view is we can't end human trafficking, but we can stop it now. We can stop it in our homes. We can stop it with our kids. We can stop it in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces. It's around us, and that's what you learn. And so basically giving people enough tools. We don't go very deep to shock people. When we started, we had a digital team look at the footprint of people trying to get the message out, and the people viewing equal the amount of people who were already in the movement. Yeah. So we started to go, okay, we're going to need some strategies to get to people, because we're trying to get to people who don't want to hear it. And so that's really, I mean, the organization's called Reid. It says nothing about trafficking. We post cups on a Monday, #Red Monday, and people see it. They see you traveling around the world or doing whatever you're doing. and they look and they're curious. And because they're curious, the algorithm says they're interested, and they get fed more and more. And so people just, why am I seeing this everywhere? And then they ask about it, and it's just a method to get in front of people. And then we do fun events that nobody would think of. We did about 180 events last year.
Wow.
We didn't run them all. We were at them, or we ran them, but generally they were fun. I mean, they weren't, we do education things, but generally we have all the different cultures in Houston run nights. We had a Mexican night that was wrestling. We had a Spanish flamenco night, and Scottish, I don't know, dangerous food night, or whatever we do. But people come to those and they learn about culture, and then they learn a little bit about trafficking, and that's all we ask, is to start people on the journey. And I run a podcast that kind of lets people go down the rabbit hole a bit, understand what's really happening.
Yeah. What's the name of the podcast?
It's called The Movement. If you look on YouTube, it's under Join Red M, JoinRedM. But yeah, so
Well, go ahead.
The Movement's a very broad name for a podcast, so it's not really, if you're not looking for us, you're not going to find us. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to help you today with this podcast, because that B word is scary as hell, David. That billion, I always thought it's millions. It just makes it too enticing, unfortunately, for people to do that. Well, people listening, how can they help?
The main thing is to get on the journey. We basically, we learn most people are not going to become full-on advocates, and that's okay. But we kind of have the three categories. We have the awareness side, which is just by listening to this, doing a little bit of research and looking after your kids and learning how to do modern parenting is probably going to help a lot. So we get about 100 people who are at that level. We'll get about 10 volunteers, and then we'll usually get one person out of that mix who's ready to go deep in the subject and do a lot. But we generally, our goal is the 100. If we don't want to lose them, we want people to start becoming aware, and we want society to raise up their concern and awareness without panic or stress or fear or any of those things. So you're trying to get people aware enough that they're concerned that politicians have to do something. So if you ask the police and FBI, when you can point to, here's trafficking right here, they don't do anything, not because they don't care. It's because priorities are ran by society. What do you care about? What do you need investment in? And nobody cares about this. If you ask, on our very first meeting, we had an FBI person there, and we asked, why are you here? And the lady said, well, I wiretap all day, but when we find trafficking, we're told to leave it alone because nobody cares. Wow. And so that's the big core of the issue. And no one cares because no one knows. They think we did I'll say a major computer brand event the other day. And there were 3 people in the crowd that day. One had their kid was being groomed. Her kid was actually a trafficker, and she started to understand it for the first time, what had happened to her daughter. And the other, her kid had been missing for 2 years, but she had never understood that it was trafficking. And so that's how it looks. It looks like a kid you lost, Sometimes they're still in the home and being trafficked. I've got a million stories of just things I've seen and done.
Yeah.
And it's all pretty shocking, but it's not. The helpful thing is to know it could be around you, and it may already be around you. And I think that I need to know enough. We just did a series of 3 podcasts with the lady who does rescues, and just trying to get into what are the main things we're looking for. What does it look like? What does it look like when you're in there cleaning up the mess? So
what should people do when they see something or become aware of something they think might be happening?
Most cases it is, which is an interesting thing. Most cases where you have a gut feel, it actually is what you think it is, whereas most people go the other way. I'm sure it isn't. So that's worth knowing. If you have a feeling about something, you should pursue that. If you just look up trafficking hotline, there's a number to call. 911 works as well. If it's your own kid, we encourage people to call us. We don't do anything, but we get you to someone, because we've become very good at finding the right people at the right time, because it's the worst when this happens. And people, you don't know what to do or where to go, and everyone's telling you to calm down, and there's no reason to feel calm.
Yeah. What a lot of parents listen to my show, though I'm entrepreneurs, business owners. What's a piece of advice you give them?
We actually have a script that we give to CEOs. So if you're a CEO, we've made 4 sets of films now for different industries and different groups. And if you have one CEO, he can get 4 or 5 peers to make a film. Just get someone to film it. We'll give you the script. We're all about zero cost. So we've got about 5,000 volunteers, but we have 0 employees, 0 facilities. So if we make money, it goes straight to survivors. We don't. And there is one fund that is for an ad campaign. That's going to be a national ad campaign coming up, but that's the only thing that goes straight to that, because the people, that's what they want to do with their money, so they do that. But generally 80% of our money will go into survivor care. 20% will just be there so we can continually make sure, because we give the organizations the same money every quarter.
Yeah.
And our operations, if you look at, we operate for next to nothing. So it's a good approach, so that, there's no motive gets messed up in the middle of it. If I have a staff, or I have to worry about other things. And so all we worry about is awareness, and how do we find cheap and easy ways to do this, which is kind of like even our care package builds inside of companies. They pay for the goods. Someone gets to pack a bag. They learn about trafficking. And when they pack a bag, our best cases are, it goes to people who are being trafficked, and they write personal notes to them. And so when people are trafficked, what they're told is nobody cares about you. The best thing you can do is send a note that changes the flow of that thinking, that someone cares about you. And so, and then you're connecting people to it. And there are men who, mostly men buy sex, but there are men who are in the crowd packing the bag who'll often say, well, this doesn't seem like it's worth anything. Why would they take it? And the answer to that is because they don't get the money. And a lot of men have said to us, are you telling me the girls that I've been helping, thinking that they're being somehow kind, you're telling me that they don't get the money? And I'm like, well, I'm telling you, they take the bags. You can work the rest out.
Yeah.
And we don't know for a fact exactly what's happening, but we know when you give them something worth very little, they grab it, when they're very excited about it. So they're missing basic needs, yet they're getting a lot of money put in their hand every day. So work that out. So it's really good for people to break the barriers of what they thought. There's a lot I've learned on this journey, a lot of different things.
I'm learning today. Yeah.
The thing that surprised me the most is, I used to think it's because they're somehow complicit. That's why they don't want to talk about it. But really what I've learned is a lot of men have had been violated sexually, and they don't, whether they know it or not. And that's why they don't like the subject, is that there's a deep thing there that they've kind of locked up. And so we found a lot of people who get passionate and work with us have had something happen to them. But we don't get into it, but you find that that's part of something I just didn't expect along the way. It's just finding out how many men have had things happen to them. They don't, a lot of them don't know, like they have a better propensity to lock things in their brain.
Easier.
Yeah. So anyway, that's been an interesting lesson along the way, but it's really not appealing to the guilt side of you need to stop what you're doing, more into really appealing to the, you need to pick up and protect and get involved. That's why we talk about children a lot. In our state, it's like a third of trafficking victims are children, but most of them were children when they started. So they kind of aim young. It's from a manipulation standpoint. They're targeting girls at 12 to 14 and boys at 8 years old. Boys more because they can be accessed through gaming systems.
Yeah. Cheesing with video games and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go into it, Roblox, like there's lots of different games for kids. The weirdest one we had was a couple who their daughter had no access to internet or anything, but was showing all the signs of grooming. And after our expert sat with her, she came out and said, yes, she's been groomed. Parents were like, she can't be, there's no access. And they said, well, she's being groomed through mom's Bible app as a chat feature. And, crazy, what do you do when you thought you did everything?
Yeah. That's the scary part of it. You think you've done everything and it's not enough.
So it's really learning the how to speak to kids, how to understand, the modern world, because they
Yeah.
need to be able to defend themselves as well.
Yeah.
We're
There's a
actually
direct contact.
Yeah, we've got this new appeal to grandparents just because we've learned that kids will talk to grandparents openly.
Yeah.
But in a way they won't talk to their parents. So it's we're looking for any strategies. We're always coming up with new stuff. So
yeah, there's a positive to this audience. I'm going to bring it up is, you know, the numbers of victims you've helped that have been sex offender or close to sex offended?
you're asking me?
Yeah. How many do you know the number that
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, because we support organizations that do the work.
Okay.
It's a big number. And I think you don't even know the number. We often will do things, and our lady who does the recovery work, she'll get calls and say people don't identify when we're there, but they still get involved. So I think when you see it, even if every time you move along that, up that curve of understanding technology, you're going to do better. There are ways to protect your kids you don't know. There are things to know. What they need is relationship, and what we've been losing is connectivity with kids and with each other. And so there's a need for a drive closer and to drive better and do things better and learn how to do your job in the early years, so that your kids feel safe and they can be safe. But yeah, we see, every time I see it, like even if it's once, like, because I have a friend whose daughter was trafficked, and watching her, from being trafficked, from knowing her before, the damage is deep and long, probably the rest of life. And if I can avoid that anytime, because I've seen it, like, it's worth it. It's a devastating thing. So I think every time you see it, it fills me with joy when just learning to talk about it enough, even being disciplined, not to scare people, because people get traumatized by hearing it. Early on, I learned that most of the people in this space lost all their friends. Just people couldn't take it, couldn't take you talking about it, and you feel compelled to talk about it. So yeah, knowing when to turn it off and being able to turn it off and becoming skilled at just saying enough and letting people do their homework. And it's worth it because it works.
Well, that's the thing. I think the joy when you hear a story, especially before they get sex trafficked, is huge, because that lifetime of damage doesn't happen. Now, you mentioned, do you also help the men or whoever is doing the sex?
There's organizations we have that handle males now. Yeah, it's a harder, I think. They kind of say 70-30, 70% women, 30% men, but I believe it's a lot higher with men, but they just don't talk.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people, you'd be surprised, who were trafficked, and they haven't talked to anyone, or they haven't recognized it. Happens a lot in our meetings, that people in child traffic, like things you can't even imagine, by your parents or by your uncle, or things that just hard to get your head around. But a meeting, I had a executive woman told me recently, she's like, she goes, why we're helping you? And I said, well, I assume you care. And she goes, no, we're helping you because of me. And she felt safe enough to tell me this. I was trafficked as a child, and you're the second person I've ever told. And she was very late in her career. And I was like, well, who was the first? Well, my sister, she was also trafficked. So spent a lifetime never talking about it.
Not good.
And there's such great resources now to help people who've been through that, But so there's a lot of work to do on destigmatizing the whole thing and learning, to see people as people, which is one of the problems, making a place for people who've had trauma in their life and learning how to do that. There's a lot of gifts you get free with this, of being around humanity and hope and seeing lives transformed and being a part of it. It's rough at the coalface, but there's lots of ways to do it without being at the coalface. So we create levels of engagement for people so they can just do something. What you don't want to do is be in what in future history they'll look back and call it one of the shocking crises of our era that we didn't know about. We actually studied early on the towns around Poland and Germany in the Second World War, where there was clearly bad things happening in these death camps, to see what the behaviors were. And we learned that the behavior was to protect your kids and hide from it and not see it. There was one time where they built shutters on this all throughout the town on one side, and it wasn't because the sun came down that side. It was because there was people being burned, and nobody wanted their kids to see it. And that's the behavior we have to push through, is that I don't want to see it behavior, because we're living in some atrocity here. So lots of great, we have fun at all of our events, and that's one of the foundational things, is it's a lot of fun. And you have to do that. You have to create a place where people are enjoying being around good people, making a difference. So
if it's a Debbie Downer, people won't stay or won't listen.
No, it's too hard.
We're human. We're just that way.
But I know a lot of our team in Houston, as we go to the other chapters around the States and Canada and the UK, they just love going because the people are the same. Like there's good people, and that's the beauty, is there's more good people than bad people in this world.
Love to hear that.
Gathering them together, and it just creates and here you are with a subject that is non-polarizing in this day and age. The only people who don't like this as a movement are traffickers. The rest, we're all okay.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wants to stop this. So it's great to be in a non-polar. In fact, people will throw in politics or religion, and we're like, no, can't do that. Just can't. Not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not worth it.
We need to keep everyone in the same place,
Yeah. So coming to the end here, what do you see the future of your organization in human trafficking, or the hope?
Well, I think the awareness of the country and countries is going to happen sooner than you think, because when people put themselves to a subject and it goes viral, I think it ends. I think we are able to mark a difference. In my industry, I've seen it. Just because of talking about it all the time. It's the men used to talk about using prostitutes, and now they're realizing they're either with children or people who were children when they started, who are being prostituted, and that language changed everything for people.
Yeah.
So you can change the world, but you just got to look at what can I do. And so our whole approach is everyone's busy, no one's got time. So design things so that people can jump in and out, do as much or as little as they want. Make it flexible, which is why we don't need the money. So we can end an event, we can stop doing something if it's stressing you out. And so you've created an environment where people just jump in and out, and you have lots and lots of volunteers. So it's a really positive movement.
Yeah, well, congratulations. This is awesome. I know people listening may have been involved or know people. How can they reach out and connect with you guys?
Our main website is joinredm.com. And we like LinkedIn, so if you're on LinkedIn, we're on other social media channels, but if you look up Join Red M the movement, those kind of words, you'll find us. I think we're Red M Join the Movement on LinkedIn. So that's a great place. And then we actually have chapters on LinkedIn. So if you don't see a chapter in your city, then reach out and we'll show you how to do that.
Well, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, because I always talk about action. I've learned about this last year, and boy, you've enlightened me about this. It's bad. TV and movies, you watch, go, oh, it's just TV and movies. It's not. David, you proved to that it's everyday life, and we've got to do something about it. So audience, the first 3 people that reach out and talk to David about his organization or somebody's, and you mentioned this podcast or my name, I will send you a free book to help you with your business or your life. We can decide on that book, whatever you want. Just to, again, you said it. How do we get people involved with little barrier? Well, if you want to get involved and get something for it, that's what I want to do. So first 3 people, mention my name or the podcast at David, and we'll get you a book and help you grow as a person, but help grow this movement to get it changed. David, thanks again for the time. This has been absolutely incredible. Subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to David's podcast. But here's the power of it. This is very unique in how powerful this is. You go to the Movement podcast, you listen, and one of those shows resonates with you, share it with somebody that's been talking about human trafficking. Like he was talking about, get the word out. They listen for 10, 15 minutes, or this podcast, and they go, I've got to reach out to David's team, or I got to talk to somebody. Maybe it just goes to that point. We've made an impact to somebody's life. That's a gift, right, David? It's a gift that you're doing.
If someone says, I think I have a problem, we've seen most kids returned in 24 hours. If not, we've stopped them from going. So, I mean, it can happen fast. If you react fast, we react fast. This doesn't have to end badly.
Well, what a way to end with hope. My God, you just given me great hope. We just got to take action, people. Men and women out there, let's take action. You young people listening to my podcast, take action. That's what David's saying, whatever that looks like, whatever you can do. With that being said, me and David want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.